Hi team, welcome to Executive Coaching Creative Strategy Building. Hope you've been having a good time with the course. It's just fascinating stuff for me and very, very helpful. We're going to be talking about goals now as a big part of strategy building. Goals are that measurable indication of success or failure. You know, just without numbers and goals and some metrics, you really can't know whether you achieved it or not. Now, if you're really right brain, you're kind of like, oh, that just sounds boring or too anal retentive or too rigid. No, you got to have a left brain with that right brain to be a successful person. And goals give you a clear way to go. Here's how we're doing. Kind of a report card. Very, very valuable. And every leader and every coach and every consultant needs to know where their organization is going so they can allocate their resources properly. If you have X amount of money or X amount of people or X amount of equipment, if you don't have goals, you can't know, well, how do we put it where? We've got to have some kind of priorities there. So you need the overall goals first, the overarching goals, such as we'd like to become the preferred source of IT, for example. But you've got to have those supported by key performance indicators like net revenues and EBITDA and market share. Those are how you measure the overall goals. Now, how do you do this? Well, you base your goals on history first. You know, the best predictor of the future, guess what it is? Well, the best predictor of the future is the past. People say, well, it's a new start, and we're going to make, 100% more than we made last year. Really bad idea. I've worked with people that were sort of visionary that way, and I had to really have hard talks with them and say, you're not going to do 100%, even though it's a new day. Start with, 15%, and they get all depressed and say, that doesn't sound like I'm really doing it. Yeah, you did it. So look at your past and learn from it, and trust the past. Maybe you're going to do things better this year, but don't veer off so it's a totally new ball game. Not a good idea. A really good way to look at the goals, the overall goals for where your organization goes, is one that one of the fellows here at the Institute, Dave Lindsay, who's also a client, has a very successful enterprise in Indianapolis. And he has 3 ways to look at goals. It's basically 3 goals, which I think is very, very helpful. The first one is visionary, and that's the goal that everybody wants to hit. It's when, you're swinging right and you knock the cover off the ball and everything's great. All the variables fall in place. And so that's the best number, right? But there's a second one called primary, and primary is, it's okay. We did well, we made things better. We have, for example, in a for-profit, it might be revenue, and it might be profit, and it might be, sales. In a nonprofit, a church or a 501c3 like an NGO or something like that, it might be how many people we helped and how well we use the resources to help those people. That's at that primary level, okay. It means we're doing well and we're moving ahead. And the third one is minimal. And minimal means, well, we kind of survived and we didn't go backwards. It's not exciting, but at least it's not failure. So you've got visionary and then primary and minimal. I've found that very helpful with clients to have those up there so people kind of know where they're headed. Now let me talk a little bit about strategy and how that fits with the goal. Basically, and this is kind of sort of intuitive, strategy is a path. Strategy, you see, a goal is about something in the future, but strategies are really about time itself. It's about allocating resources, people and equipment and money toward that goal over time. You can't do anything instantly. Nothing happens instantly. There's got to be a strategy, which means there's a path which goes over time. And it includes the aspects of, where do we do things, and also how do we divide things into time. Great strategy knows about dividing things in what we would call time increments. Now, a strategy might be 1, 3, 5, 10 year. Now, some people go 100 years. I just never saw a lot of value in that, but maybe there's some companies that do that. And I'm kind of scared about 10, unless you're just huge. But 1, 3, 5, and sometimes 10, yeah, that's really okay. After 5 years, honestly, there's so many changes that happen in the world with economy and markets and governments that you just don't even know what you can plan. But let's say 1, 3, 5, sometimes 10. But it assigns champions. A good strategic plan assigns champions to be accountable for the successful execution of each part. Somebody has got to be the person. That person is accountable for the money part. That person is accountable for the marketing part, the sales part, the equipment part, the allocation of people part. And I'm just going to give you some tips to do good strategy work with your company that you're working with and you're trying to coach. Help them not leave any task meeting without some mention of the strategy. People forget it because they get busy, but you've got to, or your champion's got to say at every meeting, whether there's task involved, does this fit the strategy? How's the strategy going? You want to kind of overthink strategy because it'll help them to focus their brains better. When I created the TPRAT, the Townsend Personal Relational Assessment Tool, one thing we found out from that was that people who are really people-oriented people, they tend to be lower on strategy. They tend to be more on the connection and inspiring and all that. They've got to build up their strategy to keep things driving. Cut the goal into progressively smaller increments. So you go to 1 year, and then you move to quarters, and then you go to months, then you go to weeks. Assign your champion, like I mentioned, and every interesting opportunity that occurs must be vetted by the strat plan. If you have a great idea, don't go ADD, squirrel, and say, that's a great idea. Somebody's got to say, that's a wonderful opportunity. Glad you brought it to the table. Is it going to fit the strat plan? That's how you win. You can't do it without strategy, and it's a wonderful thing to do. Anyway, have a great class.